Good evening, Hawks fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Atlanta Sports District. I'm your host, Russell Spence, coming to you directly after a 118-100 loss to the Toronto Raptors, making us now four losses in a row on the season to the Toronto Raptors, and honestly, quite a pitiful record against them for the last three seasons. Before we begin, we should probably talk about the Trae Young news. It has been reported by multiple sources that Trae has asked out of Atlanta, that we are seeking a trade for him, and that he no longer wants to be a member of our organization. First of all, we'll start with the Trae Young side. I do not blame him for wanting to no longer to be an Atlanta Hawk. We have done a pitiful job of building a team around Trae Young pretty continuously for his tenure. It is very famous, but Trae Young has not had an all-star teammate at all throughout his time as an Atlanta Hawk. That will change this year when Jalen becomes an all-star, but it's too late. He does not believe that we can build a winner around him anymore, and I would like to agree. And the reason why I would like to agree is not Trae's fault, and I don't believe it's Ansi Saleh's fault. I do believe it is coaching's fault. And see, the problem I have is that, quite honestly, we do not understand how teams are built in the modern era of basketball. When you look at the way people have a discourse around Trae Young, they often say, well, the problem is that Trae Young is so bad on defense that you must build your team completely defensively around him. To people who say that, I would say that you are quite misled. Because let's look at the best team in basketball right now, the Oklahoma City Thunder. When you look at their team, they have to play Shea because he runs their offense, and the rest of their roster is good defensive players. Every single one of them. You go to San Antonio. Their best player is Victor Wembanyama, but their offensive engine is De'Aaron Fox. Well, they say, well, then we got to put all defensive players around him. So they play Castle, and they play Vassell, and they play Harrison Barnes. They play all very good defenders around their engine. Look at every good team in the NBA. And they'll have an engine and then a bunch of people who can defend. It happens literally every team. Look at the team we just played in the Toronto Raptors. Their engine, Emmanuel Quickley's on the floor. He's running most of their point guard minutes, playing point guard for them. Pretty horrendous defender. But then every other player can defend at least adequately. The New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson plays their engine, but then you're sitting there going Miles McBride and Bridges and Anunoby and Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart. Every team is built this way that is successful. And what we have chose to do is instead, we're going to play Luke Kennard and Vit Krejci and KP and Keaton Wallace and all these players who cannot stop a parked car around Trae Young. And so it has made it where we cannot physically win with him unless we change the outlook of what we're going to do. And it's become quite obvious that we are not going to change that, and so he asked out. That's on the side of Trae Young. Now, on the side of the Hawks, I am telling you I wouldn't do it. I would say, I'm not going to trade you. I don't care if you've requested a trade. You are under contract as an Atlanta Hawk, and we need you. Because in the game tonight, that will be a wonderful segue into what we had happen. This was one of the worst offensive performances I've ever seen. The team was pitiful on offense. We need our engine. We need the best passer in the world. But instead, we won't play the way we need to help him. And so now we don't have him. And with that being the case, we only scored 100 points tonight in a game that was extraordinarily fast-paced. The defense wasn't great either, but at least it was a little better than the offense. Quite honestly, with the outlook of not having Trae Young moving forward, if they do decide to trade him, I think this basketball team is quite pitiful without him. Because we built our entire scheme around having Trae Young to make the offense work. And defenses are catching up with what we are doing offensively, and they're stopping it very easily now because they have film. They say as long as we just stop Jalen from cracking the paint, they can't win. And that's what we're seeing. And the defense is getting worse and worse and worse. And Trae Young isn't playing. Trae Young's not the problem with the defense tonight. Not the problem with the defense last night. Or the game, the games where earlier in the month where Trae was still out with his knee injury and the defense was horrible. He's not the one who's doing that. That's the fact that we're playing huge minutes, long stretches of time with poor defensive lineups on the floor. And yet, we have wonderful defensive players who are not allowed to play. Mo Gay played 3 minutes tonight. I just said the other day about this unit, when you have Mo Gay on the floor and he plays more than 20 minutes, 18 to 20 minutes or more, we have a very good record on the year because that is what helps our defense be good. We need him to play. But for some reason, our coach loves to lean offense in an NBA where the difference between the greatest offensive player on planet Earth and the worst offensive player on planet Earth is like 3 or 4%. And the greatest difference between the greatest defender on planet Earth and the worst defender on planet Earth is like 300%. Like on our team, the difference between Dyson Daniels to Luke Kennard, he's 3 times the defender that Luke Kennard is. That's a huge problem when that guy's getting a crazy amount of load share of the minutes. And V. Krejci's also doing that. And we're playing KP, but instead of doing what we did last game and keeping him kind of down in the dunker spot, he played up the touch a lot tonight. And when that happened, they attacked it every single time and killed it every single time. So offensively, we were terrible. There was no ball movement. There was no ability to crack the paint. There was no shooting ability. There was no wonderful passing reads being made. The team was literally pitiful offensively. And we also were not very good defensively. And to wrap it all up, we're about to lose our best player. So get ready to be one of the worst teams in the East again. Congratulations. We went all in this offseason. And this team's going to be horrid when Trae Young is no longer there. Because teams have gotten film on what we're doing, and they're attacking our weaknesses, and we have already proven as a coaching staff we will not change. We will not adjust our weaknesses. Makes no sense to me. But here we are. So, now moving into the player-by-player section. When we look at our bench, Mo Gay played 3 minutes. He had no points, no shots, 2 rebounds, and a foul, and finished the game -5. Dude's got to play more. I don't care. He's got to play more. It is unacceptable for him to log 3 minutes in a game when we're getting bullied the way that we were by this team. I mean, if you look at it, they shot 52% from the field. When you're giving up 52% from the field and 32% from 3, that means they are bludgeoning you at the rim. And again, you have a 6'11" Senegalian super freak sitting on your bench, and you're getting bludgeoned at the rim. I feel like, just a crazy thing to think, I would assume, that maybe that 6'11" Senegalian super freak who's been wonderful on defense all year and has been amazing in the paint would be able to stop them from bludgeoning us in the paint. But alas, he played only 3 minutes. Gonna have to make that one make sense, because it doesn't make any sense to me. Moving on, we'll talk about KP. KP played 20 minutes. He had 9 points on 2 of 12 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3, 1 rebound, 1 assist, and it was a net 0. Honestly, the defense was pretty bad, and the offense was pretty bad, but he was on the floor a lot with Veet and Kennard, who shot the ball well today and kept their minutes relatively okay. And that's the reason KP had a net 0. But I do not think he played at a net 0. I think he was quite a negative tonight. Moving on to Luke Kennard. Luke Kennard played 22 minutes. He had 10 points on 3 of 5 shooting, 3 of 4 from 3. He had 4 assists and finished the game -1. Again, like I said, him and KP's minutes were pretty well mirrored. And so they basically played the same plus minus, and the good shooting of Kennard and his good ball movement did help. But the defense is so bad with them two on the court together that it does not matter. Moving on to Veet Krejci. Veet played 27 minutes. He had 10 points on 3 of 6 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, a turnover, 4 fouls, and finished -11. He did have 3 steals in the game, which Veet has been playing more aggressive in a havoc creation manner. He's been attacking the ball, attacking the dribble a lot more, which does help his defense. When you are kind of defensively challenged in the way that like a Veet Krejci would be, making havoc happen, causing turnovers, blocking shots is one way to make yourself have a neutral kind of output defensively, even though you're very bad when it comes to getting pushed around and people driving by you and that sort of thing. But if you can create some turnovers, you can help and become kind of a neutral on defense. But it didn't really help because he was -11 tonight, even though he shot the ball well. I will say a lot of that came when he was on the floor with some of our starters, which we will get to how the starters were really bad tonight. Moving to the starters, we'll talk about Zach. Zach actually played pretty wonderfully after his first stint. His first stint was rough. He had 4 fouls in his first stint. He ended up fouling out, had 6 fouls in the game. But he had 16 points in 22 minutes on 7-11 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and finished the game -10. Zach got aggressive in the second half offensively, played very well offensively in the second half, but it did not matter because the rest of the starting lineup was putrid. And I would venture to say probably the news from the day about Trae Young did affect our performance tonight. I think the team was kind of shell-shocked, but that does not matter. You have to play through whatever's going on. You're an NBA basketball team. You have to figure it out. Moving on, we'll talk about Onyeka Okongwu. Onyeka played 36 minutes. He had 17 points on 7 of 13 shooting, 2 of 3 from 3, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, was -4. Onyeka played pretty well in general. He still has a tough time with this team because they're basically 4 Onyekas on the floor and Emmanuel Quickly. Like, they're all about the same size as Onyeka, same length as Onyeka, as quick as Onyeka. And so that becomes really difficult for him because usually his advantage is that he's much quicker than his opponent. That is not the case against Toronto. But overall, I thought he played okay. Like, he played fine. It wasn't a big negative. It wasn't a big positive. Moving on, we'll talk about Nickeil Alexander-Walker next. He played 34 minutes. He had 14 points on 4 of 14 shooting, 2 of 6 from 3, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 turnovers. Didn't record a steal or a block, and was -8. Naw shot the ball well in spurts, and then shot the ball horribly in spurts. And quite honestly, he was pretty rough tonight. They don't have a player that he can kind of guard that makes a big difference. Their big difference maker offensive players are Barrett, Barnes, and Brandon Ingram. And he's just a little too small. to guard all those guys well, and so it was not great defensively and really bad offensively, and just a really rough showing. But not as rough as Dyson. Dyson played 39 minutes. He had 11 points on 4 of 13 shooting, 0 of 2 from 3, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 turnovers. He did not record a steal or a block and was minus 24. We continue to put him on Brandon Ingram. It doesn't work. It's not going to work. Brandon Ingram is 5 inches taller than him. He just shoots over a chair. I don't care how good Dyson is defensively. He's not big enough to guard that guy. And we have players big enough to guard that guy. Sadly, Jalen has been so bad defensively this year, we can't trust him to do that. But Mo Gay can guard him. We proved that last game when Mo Gay came in and shut him down. But again, Mo Gay only played 3 minutes in tonight's game. I continue to say, as long as Quinn Snyder does not understand what he has in some of his players, I would fire him. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, because that is what I would decide to do, is rather than trade Trae Young, I would get rid of the person who refuses to put successful lineups on the floor. Moving on, lastly, we'll talk about Jalen Johnson. He had a very rough game. He played 37 minutes. He had 13 points on 5 of 15 shooting, 0 of 4 from 3. Horrendous efficiency. He had 14 rebounds and 7 assists. If you look at that, he goes 13 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists. He had 6 turnovers. He recorded a steal and a block, but was pitiful defensively. Awful all night long. And was minus 27, by far and away the worst plus-minus on the team. Quite honestly, if Jalen doesn't start playing better on defense, he will get into similar conversations that Trae Young was. Can't build a win around somebody who plays defense this poor. And I think a lot of it stems from when Jalen gets on the court and around him is Kennard, Veit, KP, he goes, we're not getting stops. You can see it in his face. He's like, we can't stop anybody. And he gets distracted by that. And the effort wanes. That can't continue to happen. But I can understand the frustration. When you're watching the Braves play and they've got Tarek Skubal throwing and Ozzy Albies is up to bat and you go, Ozzy's batting 167 against everybody. He ain't getting a hit now. The frustration that builds in that, yeah, I know that feeling. Jalen's feeling the same thing, but about the defense. Luke Kennard's batting a 167 defensively, and good God, we've got him guarding R.J. Barrett. That's not going to work. Figure it out. Start playing different rotations. Start playing different players. If you can't get stops, you don't play. I think that would greatly help the mental fortitude that's coming from Jalen Johnson right now, because a lot of what is happening defensively with him being so bad is him being checked out on the defensive end. And I think that comes from sitting there literally thinking to himself, it doesn't matter if I'm checked in or if I'm checked out, we can't stop them with this lineup. So who cares? I think that's what's happening. That being said, moving forward, we got New Orleans next. Hopefully we can get off the snide, beat a team, and improve our draft pick, because I think that is really the only thing we've got to look forward to right now as Hawks fans. If we trade Trae Young, we will be actively making the team worse in a year we were trying to go in and trying to win a lot of games, and that is never a good option. That being said, let me know about what you think about all the things I've said tonight. Like, comment, subscribe to all the YouTube things. Share the podcast with a friend or a family member. And even though the Hawks really do not want us to, I hope you have a great day.